Hello, friends, and welcome to the Homewrecker podcast. Typically, we wreck and shatter conventional wisdom and ways of thinking on this podcast. That's what we do. And we do that by bringing alternative viewpoints and different subjects to light in an attempt to not only change conventional wisdom and ways of thinking, but we like to obliterate them completely. That's what we like to do. Wow. That was okay for the watchers. That was quite the gesture by my lovely lady here who is co-hosting with me. I am the Golden Greek Alex Arion, joined as always by my beautiful, lovely, gorgeous, amazing wife, the lovely Monique.
Woohoo!
How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm pumped.
Yeah, me too.
I'm really pumped. It's like the one weekend a year where it's when I get excited about stuff, like something that I have no control over. Typically, I like to get excited about things that affect me personally or things that I personally am involved in and that I take part in. And one weekend a year, I get excited about something that's happening as of the weekend that we're recording this. But by the time this comes out, it will have already occurred. What am I talking about?
Whoa, whoa.
Oh,
WrestleMania.
you had to.
I love that song.
You had to go
It's
with
the
that.
iconic
Oh
WrestleMania
boy.
song.
Yes, it is WrestleMania weekend,
Yes.
and
Woohoo!
yeah, that's I'm pretty psyched about it because yeah, like I said, that's it for the last. This is gonna be WrestleMania 38. So for the last 38 years, because I've been watching since the first one, which is crazy and showing my age, I guess, apparently too. But I've been watching since the first one. Now, I didn't see the first one live, and that was in 1985, but I saw it on home video. But I had begun watching wrestling at that point. Rock and wrestling had begun, MTV, Cyndi Lauper, Roddy Piper, Hulk Hogan, Mr. T, Captain Lou, the whole thing had already taken off. And yeah, I was a Hulkamaniac. I was hooked. I was into wrestling from a very, very early age, 5 years old, 6, 7 years old, whatever, however old I was. But I had begun watching it. I remember watching the first WrestleMania on VHS. We'd rented it. And then same thing with the second one because I couldn't see it live because at the time I think they were doing just closed circuit television, which is when what they would do is they would get movie theaters or arenas and they'd set up big screens or movie theaters and they would set up the screens in there and that's where people would go to watch the event. It wasn't like how it eventually became cable boxes and pay-per-view and now everything's streaming or whatever, but that's how they used to do it if you couldn't be there in the building live. So WrestleMania 2 went to, I believe they were in 3 different areas. They were in Chicago, Los Angeles, and help me, I've forgotten the third one. But I know they were in 3 different places, or maybe it was whatever. They were in multiple arenas, so they tried that whole thing out. And I didn't see that live either because again, closed circuit TV, no, didn't happen for me. So again, had to wait to get that on the video cassette. WrestleMania 3 came around. Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant. Did I see that live? No. Again, couldn't see that one live either. Had to wait for the VHS. But I was a fan the entire time. And then finally got to see WrestleMania 4 live. And then from there on in, I found a way, somehow, some way to watch every WrestleMania live from that point on.
So, for the hearers and watchers who don't know already, my parents owned a video store. So, I was really lucky because they had all the WrestleManias on VHS. So, I could watch them at my leisure, which was absolutely wonderful because I didn't see the first few live either. And yeah, it's like they really, it's like hook 'em young. It's like the cigarette companies, like hook 'em young when it comes to wrestling. Like you're a
Absolutely.
kid and you're watching this and it's so like fantastic and almost magical watching what these guys are doing. And I know I'm not the only one. When I watched wrestling, I felt, even though I was watching from my living room, watching on a TV, I felt like I was a part of it. And how many kids talk about, jumping off the couch, stacking up the couch cushions, my brother and I getting on top of the couch doing like the elbow drop on each other. It's just so much, so many wonderful fond memories that have to do with wrestling and just having fun watching it and being able to watch the pay-per-views. It was big. My dad, we'd be like, oh, we got to watch WrestleMania. If that was like the only pay-per-view we could get all year long, because they used to be pretty expensive. The
Used to
paper,
be.
well,
I think they still have them on pay-per-view. I'm not sure, but I think right now they're on Peacock. That's where they moved the WWE network to.
but
But
back in the 80s,
well, I want to say that back then pay-per-views were like $20 or $30.
no, maybe I'm wrong, but I thought they were like $80.
I don't
For a
recall them ever being
pay-per-view.
that expensive. They
I
could
could be
have been.
wrong,
I don't
but
know.
I remember it was expensive, so it wasn't something we could do all the time. It wasn't like $20 to watch WrestleMania. The big pay-per-views were expensive, and I remember there were like, I think maybe it was like the early 90s. There was MMA
Yeah,
on
UFC, the
pay-per-view, yeah,
UFCs, sure.
and we'd want to watch that too. But again, it adds up, so we'd get kind of limited in what we could watch, but yeah, just watching it and being able to watch WrestleMania, that was like the one show. If we could only watch one show, it has to be WrestleMania.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I know that we've both, I think, got a little jaded over the years, and we've talked about WrestleManias in the past and how some of them parts can be disappointing. But I feel like going in this year, I have absolutely no idea what's happening. I don't know who's wrestling. I'm just excited to be a part of it. And I think by not watching wrestling pretty much all year
I like how
long,
you said you're excited to be a part of it. Are you participating in the show in some way?
just to watch it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's a collective thing when you think
I had
about
to give you
it.
crap for that.
It's a collective thing that we do. We're all a part of WrestleMania. And it's that collectiveness of everybody gathering.
Okay, sure.
But yeah, like to go in with no expectations and just to want to have fun. I'm excited. Trying it a little different this year. We'll see
And
how
it's
it ends up.
and it's
turns
over
out for
2
us.
nights.
It is. I don't know how I
That's
feel
the only
about it.
part I'm still not on board with the whole 2 nights thing, but I get why they do it, but I'm still just not on board with the 2 nights. I think this is now the third year in a row that they're doing the 2 nights. I'm pretty sure it's going to be going forward. That's going to be what they do, which financially for them makes a lot of sense, because you figure you have 2 live events, 2 nights of ticket sales that you can sell tickets for each night, for each event, and then 2 nights worth of merchandise and concessions and all the other things. So I think that's what they're going to be doing going forward. And it also, I think for the guys and gals that get to be on the show, I think it's going to give them more time for their matches, hopefully. I think for a couple of years there before they went to the 2 nights, the WrestleManias were like, what, 5-6 hours long? Wasn't it one year almost 7 hours long?
Yes, but
That's a long freaking show.
When they did it for 2 nights, wasn't it still really long?
Yeah, but I think that the reason why the first time they went to 2 nights was in 2020, and that was right when everything went to hell and shut down. So they had no fans. So I think that just seemed really long because we were watching them with no crowd, and that's just weird.
Yeah.
Pro wrestling with no crowd, it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. It's not the same thing. So I think that may be why that seemed so long. And then last year they had a crowd, but it wasn't, they weren't allowed to sell all the tickets. I think they had like 20,000 people in an 80,000 seat building or something ridiculous. Yeah. But it was still a little better because now you had an audience, and now this year it's.
Yeah. Watching it without an audience was just like, this is so weird.
It's just weird. I felt bad for the guys because it's like, how do you,
there's
no crowd to feed off of. There's no crowd to play to. There's no crowd to get reactions from, to know that there's no feedback from the live audience to know that what you're doing is working, that people care about what you're doing.
It's almost like being a kid again in your living room and just pretending. I'm going to pretend they're cheering.
Kinda. Yeah, kind of, right? It was just very, yeah, it didn't work. But yeah, like you were just saying, we have no clue what's going on this year. I actually, that's a lie. I know 3 matches I think that are happening. And I don't know what night. I know that the main event of the second night is Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns, which that'll probably be really good. And Ronda Rousey versus Charlotte Flair, I believe, is on the night 1, I think, but I could be wrong. And the one thing I'm looking forward to more than anything is Stone Cold Steve Austin returning.
But he's not wrestling, correct?
He's not wrestling, but he's doing an interview segment or a fight, or I don't think anybody's going to know till it happens, but it's been, I guess, rumored, speculated that they're going to have some kind of a encounter. Who knows? It'll probably be like a brawl or something. Who knows? But I'm just psyched to see Stone Cold back at WrestleMania. And that's the thing I'm most excited about. And that's a guy who hasn't wrestled in like 20 years, close to 20 years. And I mean, I think that right there, that's either a testament to how awesome Stone Cold was, how impactful he was to pro wrestling, or how uninteresting, uninspiring, and how just lackluster the current product and the current talent of crop of guys is, or it's both. It's either Stone Cold's that awesome, or and that's just how bad these guys suck, or it's both. It's kind of sad because like I want to be excited about the newer stuff, but
so I just pulled up night 1. We have Charlotte Flair.
You pulled up a card.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Charlotte Flair versus Ronda Rousey.
Okay.
Yeah, that could be good.
Could be good.
Yeah. Becky Lynch versus Bianca Belaire. I like Bianca Belaire. What I've seen from her when I watched her in NXT, when we'd watch here and there, I really liked her. I felt she's athletic. She has good character development. I'm interested in this match.
All right.
Okay. We have the Mysterios, Rey and Dominic Mysterio versus The Miz and Paul Logan. Paul Logan, isn't he like
do you mean Logan Paul?
Oh, Logan Paul. Sorry. Logan Paul. I do that. I get the first name and last name flipped when they're like,
oh boy,
names.
This will be fun.
We've commented on that. Yeah.
He's like a social media guy or something, right?
Yeah, like on YouTube or something.
All right. No.
Didn't he do some kind of boxing or MMA?
Isn't that his brother that does that?
Maybe. I don't know.
I forget the brother's name. But anyway, okay. What else?
He's a person and he's gonna be in the match.
Okay.
Drew McIntyre versus Happy Corbin. So Baron Corbin is now Happy Corbin. I think.
Okay.
I think.
Like Happy Corbin. Who's that? Okay.
Like Happy Gilmore.
I don't know. Maybe that'll be okay.
We have the Usos versus Shinsuke Nakamura and Rick Boogs. Rick Boogs is the guy that I think annoys you.
Annoys me.
The Freddie Mercury kind of dude.
Oh, the guy that they can't decide what he is. That guy, right? Where he's a hard rocker, then all of a sudden he's Freddie Mercury, then he's like a 1920s strong man, then the next minute like you.
Is that his call though?
No, obviously it's not his decision, but I mean that I think he plays guitar, right? He's the guitar guy. Okay. The 2 times I've seen him, yeah, whatever.
Then we have New Day with Kofi and Xavier Woods. Biggie, obviously, we heard about his accident.
No, what are you talking about?
Oh, he broke his neck.
Okay. You're saying obviously like people listening. We still didn't even tell people. We're going to just be talking about wrestling this for this show.
If you haven't noticed.
Yeah, we kind of just went right into it and didn't really explain
We did.
it.
I have something coming up and I didn't even get to it, so I'll have to get into it at the end. So New Day is going against Sheamus and Ridge Holland.
Never heard of Ridge Holland. I don't know who that is.
I don't know.
But sure.
And then we have Seth Rollins versus TBA. To be announced.
Okay.
And there
should be good.
The first night is where the KO show with Kevin Owens is hosting with Stone Cold Steve Austin. So that's
there you go. 1. So that's the first night. Yeah. And like I said, I'm looking forward to the Stone Cold pop, like just to see the place go nuts when he comes out.
The music just went in my head and like the glass shattering. And
I saw, what did I see with him? I happened to put the heck is it called? Jeez, I'm crowing. I'm really drawing a blank. The social media, the thing on my phone, Instagram. Jeez, I'm crow. I put Instagram on briefly. Was it last week? And just for I don't even know if I wasn't purposely trying to go to it. It's kind of one of those things, you're thumbing through your icons on your phone, and you hit it too hard and it pops up, opens up. Well, it opened up and it was like like one of those live things that's going on, or whatever they call it, Instagram Live or something. Well, it was Stone Cold, and he was doing something. He was at like some beer event or something for his beer, it looked like, and he fucking looked in great shape. Like, he looked dialed in, like he looked ready to go. And I was like, oh shit, he looks awesome.
He's
Like,
WrestleMania ready.
Like he looked in fantastic shape a couple of weeks ago when I saw him. Like, holy shit, he's ready to rock and roll. So maybe he is wrestling. I don't know. We'll see.
I feel like when we would watch WrestleMania, we talk about like, this is the time of year everyone gets super lean.
Sure.
They're looking their absolute best.
Of course. Well, but you think about it, it's their biggest, it's the biggest event of the year for them. Every sport, right? Every sport, every entertainment entity, whatever. In music has the Grammys, right? But that's an award show, of course, but still that's like their big event. Baseball has the World Series. Football has the Super Bowl. Hockey has the Stanley Cup. They all have their big events that they build to once a year, and that's their big event. That's the big draw. Well, wrestling has always had, well, for the last 38 years, has had WrestleMania. And I've got to say, over probably the last 15, it's exploded. Like, it's huge.
Oh, yeah.
It's so big. So the eyeballs that are on you for that event, I mean, yeah, of course you're going to get dialed in. You're going to get your car, you're going to be in mint shape. So yeah, everyone's going to be tan. Everyone's going to be lean. Everybody's going to be looking awesome. That's what you do.
Yeah.
All eyes are on you.
I know. And it's just, again, the spectacle of it. And you said how it's huge. I mean, it's in Dallas, Texas this year. And when you think about when they hold WrestleManias now, it's not just like, oh, I'm going to WrestleMania. There's like all this other stuff happening around it. All these different wrestling promotions gather around and they put on shows. It's almost like a big convention.
Are they still doing that this year with a bunch of, because I thought that was another reason that they decided to go 2 nights, so they could kind of kick all these other people out that were piggybacking off of them.
I think they do it during the day. I don't know. But,
okay.
I mean, that was happening.
Sure.
So, yeah. But no, it's really cool. So night 2.
What's up with night 2? Yeah, let's hear that.
Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, that's
I just
the main
think
event, right?
of our middle child when we were watching wrestling and Brock Lesnar was on, and he has his little toy and he's like pretending to be Paul Heyman. And he's like, Brock Lesnar. He just kept saying it over and over again. It was really cute. We also have, Carmella and Queen Zelina versus Sasha Banks and Naomi versus Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley versus Natalya and Shayna Baszler. It's a tag team, women's tag team champ match. That should be interesting.
A women's tag team champ match?
Yeah, because I didn't feel like saying championship.
Okay. Great. What else we got?
Sami Zayn versus Johnny Knoxville. So they were at Royal Rumble, Johnny Knoxville. So apparently they have this little thing going, and it's an anything goes, no holds barred match.
Is it really? Yeah. Okay, that might actually be fun. Just because Johnny Knoxville's gonna get the shit kicked out of him, and it's gonna be for real because the guy's not a trained pro wrestler. So what do you do with somebody like that whose gimmick is what was the jackass? Wasn't that their whole gimmick? Was they just do stupid shit and
you
get
say
hurt?
Johnny Knoxville in that jackass music, the guitar just goes right into your head.
Maybe for you, I don't know. I was never into that
works.
show, never cared, always thought it was just
it just reminded me of the stupid fun shit like we did as teenagers. That
show came out when I was the prime target demographic for that show, and I thought it was the dumbest freaking thing. Everybody loved it. I'm like, this is stupid.
I liked it
But
because it just made
whatever.
me think of the stupid shit we did as kids. So
That'll be
also-
fun to watch
yeah.
anyway.
We have Austin Theory versus Pat McAfee.
Pat McAfee, that guy. Now that is a gentleman that I have to say I respect. He was a former NFL player. I'm not familiar with his NFL career, so I apologize for if I mess anything up. But he was an NFL player for a bit. I don't know why his career ended, but he then started a podcast. I think I have this right. He started a podcast and like grew it where it's like huge. It's a big deal. The kind of thing where you're making like buku bucks. And I want to say that he went to WWE and asked if he could commentate. I think he went to them for a job. I might be wrong on that. And I know that they love him there. Like from what I've heard, he's somebody that they give a little bit of free reign to because they trust him to talk and to be genuine and authentic in what he says. And the guy loves pro wrestling. Like he got himself a ring. He trained himself to wrestle, and he's had a couple of matches on their TV. And I guess I had not seen him, but by all accounts, he actually was really good. Not to the point where he's like a regular guy or anything, but where they trusted him enough to put him in there with some guys, and he had a really he made a good showing for himself. But he's somebody that like truly legitimately loves pro wrestling, respects it, and just wants to be involved with it. So that's a guy I respect. And just the fact that he's self-made, he worked his ass off, got to the NFL. That ended for whatever reason. Like I said, I don't know the specifics, but then he began a podcast and grew it and built it into something big. And I think he has it. It's like him and his buddies, I guess. I've heard a couple of shows. He had Vince McMahon on actually recently. And that was a really, really interesting interview with Vince McMahon. But yeah, that should be interesting, that match.
Because I was
Looking
going to say,
forward to it.
I thought I knew him as a commentator.
Yeah, I don't know which show he commentates for. Again, we don't watch the show. We don't have cable, and we don't really catch replays on the network or anything like that. So the only wrestling we watch now is it's going to be WrestleMania or older stuff is all we watch. But anyway.
We have a triple threat match for the WWE Raw Tag Team Championship. RK Bro, which is Randy Orton and Riddle, versus the Street Profits, Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins, versus Alpha Academy, Otis and Chad Gable.
All right. I always like seeing Randy Orton wrestle.
That could be interesting. We have AJ Styles versus Edge.
Oh, okay. That's right. I did hear about that. That should be good. That should be really good.
And then we have Omos versus Bobby Lashley.
Omos. That's the dude that's like guy. 10 feet tall, right? Is the really big guy?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And
that's it for night 2.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. And it's WrestleMania, so I'm sure we're gonna have people returning. We'll probably have surprises. Is there any musical guest that you always have somebody that's like a musical thing?
Let me see if it says anything.
You see anything there? I'm curious. I know in the past they've had like, Kid Rock, Motorhead played Triple H to the ring, I believe on more than one occasion.
I don't see anything on this thing that I'm looking at.
They've had like the rap guys like Flo Rida, Machine Gun Kelly. I think Pitbull rapped somebody in one year. So they always seem to have. Who was the guy that wrestled last year who I'd never heard of, but he actually was all right. He made a respectable showing of himself. He's a small guy. The heck was his name? The Bunny guy. Bunny.
Bad Bunny?
Bad Bunny. Thank you. Yeah, that guy.
Yeah, he did all right.
So, yeah. Anyway, they have musical people. So maybe we're gonna see some musical guests and things like that. We'll see.
Yeah. And tonight, as we're recording, later on is the Hall of Fame.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And it's a smaller amount of people. It's usually there's more people going into the Hall of Fame.
I don't know why they've lessened the load of people, the class of people that goes in, because usually I think it used to be like 9 or 10, I thought, where you'd have like some that were not they were not inducted in the ceremony, but they'd be like, also went in was this person, whatever. But you'd have like 6 or 7 that were on like the actual broadcast. They'd put like they'd edit it down like a couple days later, put it on like USA Network or whatever. But like live on the network, you'd have like a 3-hour, sometimes more than that, for the Hall of Fame ceremony.
So for the Hall of Fame, it's going on after SmackDown.
Yes, tonight.
Which is tonight as we record.
So SmackDown
is
on
until 10 o'clock at night Eastern.
Yeah,
time.
Because it's going on after SmackDown. Because from what I gathered,
did it always go on that late?
No.
So maybe that's why they cut the amount of people.
Because what the last 2 years I'm not really sure what they did, because I did not watch those Hall of Fames, so I don't know what they did. But previously, before everything got messed up in 2020, before everything went to hell, they would have Hall of Fame would be on the Saturday night, and then WrestleMania would be on Sunday. So I think that the fact that they went to 2 nights kind of screwed up the way Hall of Fame was too. And what they would do is I think Hall of Fame would start at like 7 or 8, and it would go for 2.5 to 3 hours, depending on however long guys talked for. They tried it. I remember, I can't remember what year it was, but they did it where 1 or 2 years in a row, they had like time limits on the speeches for guys. So you'd have guys like the Funks, Dory and Terry Funk would get like 5 minutes. And it's like these guys collectively wrestled for over 40 years, and they were legends, and then they got 5 minutes to talk.
I'd be like fuck you, I'm going as long as I want.
Right. And I think that might have been the year Stone Cold was like the headliner, and I think he got like 10 minutes or something. It's like, what? How can? And I think that the negative backlash from that is when they went to the network and they were able to just go as long as they wanted to, is when they started just doing, take however long you need to, guys, or whatever.
Now, last year or two, they changed it so it's in the ring. They have it like a ring setup.
They started it was in 2019 was the first year they did it, because they still had fans. This is before
COVID, yeah.
Before that. No, I don't like to say it. I hate giving that any power. But they set up the stage was, well, it was essentially, wasn't a stage anymore. It was a ring, and they would take down the ropes on one side. And that was the year that they had some idiot like ran in and attacked Bret Hart, who's given his like acceptance speech.
Let me go beat up an old guy who's had a stroke.
Yeah. And the guy like runs in and tackles Bret Hart and then gets the shit kicked out of him. Thankfully, luckily. But yeah. So I think that's what they're doing again now, because I think the last 2 years, I think they canceled it 1 year. And then, yeah, I think the first year they canceled it because of the beer bug. And then the last year they did both ceremonies like one night after the other. Like they did the 2020 inductees and they did the 2021 inductees, but it wasn't in front of anybody. It was like they did it in like their little performance center, and they had like, that was it.
Yeah.
And there was nobody there. It was just them like talking to the camera kind of thing, which was kind of I get, they did it to have it and to do it, but it just kind of, it's not the same
as
having people there,
I don't know if I like the ring, having it like in the ring.
I see why they're doing it, and I see why they've gone to that model now.
I get it.
I don't
I'm
like
just
it
saying
either.
I'm not a fan of it.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of it. If you've seen it, yeah, you might like it. I don't know. I'm not a fan of it myself.
I also look at it from the standpoint, if I was there and I was paying to go there and get a seat and watch it, and I'm staring at everyone's back, I'd be kind of pissed.
Well, that's one side of the ring.
I know,
but
that's a whole side.
Okay, but again, this year they're doing it after SmackDown, so you've seen a full 2 hours of live pro wrestling that was live on TV, and then you're getting the Hall of Fame as a bonus on top of it. I don't think they're paying any extra for the Hall of Fame.
Okay.
I don't think. So you've got, it's not going to be like it was that first year where maybe you got seats where you're looking at somebody's back the whole time.
All I'm saying is I don't want to be looking.
I agree with you. I don't like the setup the way that they have it. And I think I actually, when we rewatched it a couple nights back, just because I'm trying to get into that. Yeah, WrestleMania is coming up, so I'm getting all excited. I'm starting to watch older stuff and starting to get really psyched up for it and everything. And we watched the 2019 Hall of Fame, and that was like we said, the first year they did the ring. And I was watching it, and I was sitting there watching it. Again, this is just me from years of being involved in it and still loving it. I'm telling you how I would set the ring up and how I would have everything set up so that it would work and exactly how they have it set up. It would work perfectly. But I mean, we'll see. Maybe that's what they do tonight. We'll see.
We'll find out.
We'll see. But yeah, this year the Undertaker's going into the Hall of Fame. Yeah. That's like your favorite wrestler ever of all time.
One of them.
Maybe one of them.
Undertaker. Roddy Piper. Macho Man, I'd say, are my top 3.
What about the Golden Greek?
You're above that, baby.
I'm kidding. Nice. Okay. It's a good top 3. See, I don't have like I don't know. You can't ask me to say my top or my favorite or anything. I don't have that. I have guys that I admired, who I respected, who I tried to model my stuff after when I was wrestling. Guys that I still enjoy watching, who are obviously not around or wrestling anymore. But I can't give like I don't have that. I can't do that. So anyway, Undertaker's going to the Hall of Fame tonight.
Yeah.
That should be interesting. And Vince McMahon is inducting him.
Ooh, that should be
your face. Did you not know that?
I did not know that.
Oh, I didn't tell you that ahead of time. Okay.
I did not have this
fun.
information until right now.
So that should be interesting. He actually broke that news on that Pat McAfee podcast in that interview. Yeah. And it was the same. I think in that same interview, he said that most people think he's an asshole and he's okay with that. He does because he's not gonna be able to change anybody's minds. It was really, really good. Like a great small look into the mind of Vince McMahon. I thought it was great. I thought it was fantastic.
Did not hear it. I mean, we've talked about some of the really shitty things that he has done.
Shitty from a certain perspective, one perspective.
From a perspective. Obviously, he's a businessman. He's going to do what he thinks is best for business. But yeah.
Of course.
Okay, so we got Undertaker going in.
Yes, and then you have
Sharmell is going in.
Yes,
Booker T's wife.
Booker T's wife.
Who else?
Then you have Vader.
Okay, Vader's going in.
I was always a big fan of Vader's.
Okay.
You're like nodding your head. Cool. I've never seen him wrestle. Cool.
I have.
Yeah,
I just don't care enough. I guess.
Well, he's passed away, so he's going.
So that should. So I should care more because he's not with us anymore?
No, that's not what. I'm just saying he passed away, so he's going in posthumously. So it'd be interesting to see how that goes, especially being one of only 5 people going in. That should be very interesting. And then you have also Shad Gaspard also going in posthumously
for the Warrior
Award.
Yes.
Yeah. And he died last year, I believe.
Was it last year or the year before?
I'm sorry. It may have been 2020. I'm not sure, but he died. He passed away essentially saving his son's life.
Yeah, that was a really sad story.
Yeah, very, very sad. And by all accounts, he was a really, really good guy who I guess everybody liked him. Like he's one of those people like, just everybody always got along with and everything. So really, really sad story how that happened. But they're putting him in the Hall of Fame for that, which, hey, that's that's cool. Yeah. Respect that. And then the Steiner brothers, Rick and Scott. So that should be cool. I'm very, very curious if they're going to let them talk for very long because that could be if they let them talk, which I really doubt it because everything's so produced and scripted nowadays. If they let those guys just talk and say what they wanted to say, that would probably be one of the best Hall of Fame speeches, in my opinion. I could be totally wrong, but we'll see. We'll see tonight.
Yeah.
So that should be fun.
So that's it. That's all that's going in the Hall of Fame.
That's it. But I'm curious to see again, like we said, it's going to be on. It goes live at 10. And if you have, again, we're saying this, we're recording this,
and it'll already have happened.
This will already have happened by the time you're hearing this, because this isn't going to come out till Wednesday, and we're doing this on Friday. But anyway, so yeah, it'll be interesting. But they go live at 10, right as SmackDown goes off the air. If you switch over to Peacock, you can watch it there live. I don't know if it's scheduled for an hour, 2 hours. or if they're just going to go till they're done. I have no idea. I've got no information on that at all. And I think it may be just kind of one of those, just watch it and see what happens.
Yeah.
So
Hopefully it was good.
yeah, yes, hopefully.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm excited. WrestleMania. I got my dates messed up. I told every year for the last 5 years anyway, every time WrestleMania would start to come around about 2 to 3 weeks beforehand, I'd be like, oh, it's getting close to WrestleMania time, because it's usually the last week of March or into the first week of April. It's one of those usually. So right around that time, I start to get like, oh, okay. I'll start to really start listening to wrestling podcasts, and I'll start putting on old wrestling, because I typically I don't really watch it much at all anymore. And I'll even put in like a wrestling video game and play with the kids and stuff. Like I'll get all back into wrestling again. Like, oh yeah,
You get ready for it.
here we go. It's WrestleMania's coming. WrestleMania's coming. It's the only time I get excited for anything. Well, this year I got my weekends all off. I thought WrestleMania was last weekend, so I was all geared up. I was ready. I was psyched. And then I realized like the Thursday night that it's not, the following day is not Hall of Fame. It's the next week. And it kind of threw me all off. So I got my excitement and everything got all thrown out of whack.
So we had to go another week with watching more wrestling to get primed for it.
Yeah. So we watched even more wrestling to get primed and ready for it. And yes, good. Yeah, I know you were very excited, I'm sure.
I like watching the stuff we've been watching.
Well, because I like to put on good stuff. I may or may not have said this on our show before. For me, there is no better entertainment, no movie, no music, nothing is better than good professional wrestling. When I say good, I mean good, like really just two of the best guys in there with a good storyline, a good angle, a good build, good interviews and promos and mic work building up to their match, the anticipation, and then getting in the ring and delivering and having a crowd that's into everything that's happening and reacting perfectly. There's nothing better than going along for that ride. Nothing. For me.
No, I agree. And again, watching wrestling, if I can get caught up in it and kind of suspend reality and feel like I'm a part of it, like when I was a kid, being a part of it, even though it's on TV and I'm in, my house, feeling like I'm there, having that connection, believing everything is real, and and having that reaction,
yes.
Getting up out of your seat, really get up, like having that excitement. That is a damn fine match. And I feel like now those are fewer and further between.
Well, but again, we also don't watch very often, so I don't know what's going on Raw or SmackDown, and I never watched NXT really. Go ahead.
Going into adulthood, one of the first matches that really brought that back for me, WrestleMania, the first Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels.
WrestleMania 25.
Yes.
Yeah.
That I was out of my seat. I was excited. It was awesome. And again, it was like great being an adult and being able to feel that watching wrestling on TV.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, at that point, when that match happened, I was full on in the wrestling business. I was wrestling all the time. So and I still watch wrestling more. I try to be a fan again, but it's so hard for me to be a fan after being heavily involved in it for so long. I still watch it with that critical eye, and still, even though I don't do it anymore, I still watch and try to pick it apart and try to even pick up things that I could maybe use someday if I ever go back. Like I still store that information in my mind, and I still try to learn from everything I watch. But that match, I remember I watched that. I was by myself, and I remember being on my couch. I never stood up. I never jumped out of my seat or anything, but I remember just sitting there like, hey, this is it. Oh, wow, that's not it. Okay, wow, that's not it. And just Like,
Yeah.
wow. And like, they got me for the whole thing. And by the time it was done, I actually did stand up and was like by myself in my living room. And I was like applauding the TV, you know, because I was like, shit, that was freaking awesome.
Yeah,
That
I
was
mean,
just so well done
I was
and
on the
so
edge of my
good.
seat,
Yeah,
like literally
absolutely.
on the edge of my seat. It was great.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And another great was it WrestleMania moment was the streak when Undertaker versus Brock Lesnar.
Yes.
He ended the streak.
Yeah.
That was like a the fuck? Like this did not just happen moment. I mean, I was actually like, oh, that's really cool. It's different. And I thought it was exciting, but seeing the reaction from people, not just live watching the reaction in the stadium, but people's reaction on social media, it was insane, but it was so cool. It's like to be able to invoke such a reaction from so many people truly upset and angry or just in disbelief.
But think about why that is, though. That was
yeah.
the streak. What's the streak? Well, for anybody that is not familiar, The Undertaker was undefeated at WrestleMania year after year after year. He went 21 straight WrestleManias without losing a match. 21 straight. Now remember, that's one WrestleMania a year. So that's over 20 years.
2 decades
of this storyline, this angle, this thing happening. The streak was like kind of its own thing. It kind of towards the end there, that was like it was one of the main things of WrestleMania. Like, okay, Undertaker's wrestling. Is someone gonna beat him this year? Who's he gonna wrestle? Whatever. And yeah, Brock Lesnar ending it was like, oh, like it got to the point where you didn't think it was ever going to happen. You figured, okay.
And that was the beauty of it. Because
yes.
everybody thought, nope, he's going to win. It got to the point, it was so weird. His wins, you don't even realize he's won every single match in WrestleMania. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh shit, he's got all these matches and it's a streak. And then you start pushing it and he's winning against Shawn Michaels and Triple H and all these different people. And you think
that was a streak. I mean, he had that like a lot way before then.
No, I know, but I'm talking as we're building up to that point. And he's beating all these phenomenal people. And you think this is going to last forever. He is just going to keep it going.
Do you think that they should have let him beat Brock Lesnar?
No, I loved it just the way it was. I thought this is perfect because everyone thinks he's going to win. And then to have Brock Lesnar come in.
Looking at that in retrospect, because
it was entertaining.
At the time, I was really surprised that they did it. And I was really surprised that they did it for Brock. When I say they did it for Brock, meaning they allowed him to be the guy who beat Undertaker. And the reason for that is because in wrestling, typically something like that, if you're going to end it, the prevailing belief among people, I guess, old school thinking wrestling minds, you would think that the logical thing would be that somebody that's maybe new or coming up, or somebody they're trying to build as like a next level kind of star, somebody they want to make their next face of the company, you would have them beat a legend or do something monumental and memorable like that. So it was kind of surprising that it was Brock Lesnar that they had beat him. Now, I don't know specifics. This is all speculation on my part. I don't know anything. At the time, I thought it was a mistake. At the time, because again, that's just my thinking. In retrospect, that was at WrestleMania 30. That was the first WrestleMania that was on the WWE Network. The WWE Network had just launched. So Vince needed to make sure that everybody got the network to watch WrestleMania. Vince also, being the smart businessman that he is, he had to make sure that the network was a success. WrestleMania typically is a can't miss show. Now, if you have something as monumental as the Undertaker's streak ending at WrestleMania, if you missed it live, you're going to get that fucking WWE Network to see the fucking replay.
Yeah.
Because that was a historic moment in the canon of pro wrestling. That was historic because it was 21 years in the making. That'll never happen again. Not as long as we're alive. It's not going to happen again. I really doubt that'll ever happen, especially if society continues the way that it is on its current trajectory with instant gratification. There's no way anybody's going to be patient enough for a 20-year storyline build. You're lucky if you get 6 months now. So I think that looking back retrospectively, that to me would be thinking like a Vince McMahon. Like, I got to give them something that they're going to remember. And fucking A,
it was awesome.
Oh, fuck yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was.
It was. And funnily enough, I was actually mentioning this to you the other day. I watched that match again just last week in preparation to get all ready for WrestleMania stuff. And I was watching it because I remember watching it live, because that's the only other time I think I'd seen that match was when it happened live. I remember that night thinking, wow, Undertaker just looks off. Looks like just slow. He looks like, ugh. And then when he got beat, I was like, oh, okay, well, I guess that's why they beat him, because maybe this is it. Maybe he's done. He can't, he's hurt, whatever. Come to find out later, he got a concussion in the match, so he was out of it. So that would make sense.
You know what that's like.
So, yeah. Oh, yes, I do. So watching it back again, I'm watching it, I'm going, he actually doesn't look that bad. And I knew when he got hit, and I could tell when he had the concussion, he was out of it, but he still seemed okay. Seemed like he was moving all right. And then I realized he doesn't look that bad watching it back now, because I've seen him after that match when he kept wrestling for however many more years, another 9-10 years, and how just he got so much worse. So looking back after seeing him recently and how he was and how he moved recently, because he's guy's 6'10", legit, like he's a big guy, 300 something pounds, big dude, beat the hell out of himself for how many years, had so many injuries. So yeah, now he not moving so well, and obviously he's retired and everything now finally, but he hung on there for a long time, and he just it was pretty bad there towards the end. So looking back at him now at 2013, I believe is when WrestleMania 30 was, didn't seem that bad to me.
2013?
I believe that's when WrestleMania 30 was. Well, this is going to be WrestleMania 38. So was it 2014? I think it was 2014. Excuse me. It was WrestleMania 30. Yes. Huh. WrestleMania 38 is this weekend. In my head. So like, 8 years ago. Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, it was just, but yes, the streak ending, that was pretty monumental.
That was awesome.
Pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Now we were watching getting ready for this coming weekend. We watched the Hall of Fame, where the Ultimate Warrior was the headliner, and we watched that whole thing.
I'm looking at the time, because I know we want to go more into this, talking about the Ultimate Warrior Hall of Fame. Do we want to break this up into 2 parts?
Okay.
I'm looking at the time, and
let's break it up into 2 parts.
Yeah, because I know that's going to be a deep dive, and I feel like that conversation and then bringing up Scott Hall is going to be another hour.
Okay.
So
all right. So all right. So what we'll do here, we'll stop here.
Okay.
WrestleMania has already happened as you're listening to this. Hopefully you watched it if you like wrestling. And if you did, hopefully you enjoyed it. We're going to come back next week, and we are going to talk about
Ultimate Warrior.
Ultimate Warrior. Yes, because this conversation could go a million different ways. But I think, okay.
We have a lot of places we want to go with it.
Yes.
So before we end right now, I forgot to mention at the beginning of the show, I am going to be part of a virtual symposium on Saturday, April 9th. So this Saturday, from when this episode airs, it's at 12 p.m. Eastern time until 4 p.m. Eastern time on Saturday, April 9th. And this is a free online virtual symposium for, granted, now we're talking about wrestling, so the people who have stuck in listening to wrestling probably, I don't know if you're going to be into it, but it's called Awakening Mintaka. And what this is, is a symposium put on by Andrea Land. She has the Grooving Goddess podcast, and she talks about star seeds and a planet called Mintaka, where a lot of souls originated from. And this hit home to me because it involves a past life regression that I had. So I'm going to be speaking at it, and I'm going to be doing a group hypnosis session during it. It's totally free, and there's going to be a lot of really other cool people as a part of it speaking. So you can get a free ticket online, and I'll put the link in the show notes for anyone interested.
All right.
Yeah.
There you go. Cool.
Anything else before we wrap up?
No, I guess that's going to do it for now. So until next time, I am the Golden Greek Alex Arion, joined as always by my beautiful, lovely, gorgeous, amazing wife, the lovely Monique.
And you've been listening to the Homewrecker podcast.
We love hearing from and interacting with our hearers and watchers. Feel free to reach out to us on Twitter
At Homewrecker Pod.
You can also visit our website,
homewreckerpodcast.com,
where you can check out past episodes and pick up some Homewrecker podcast gear from our online store.
Also, if you haven't already, please hit the subscribe or follow button wherever you're hearing or watching our show. That way you can be notified whenever a new episode drops. We're on all major podcasting platforms, and you can check out the video versions of our show at YouTube and Brighteon.
You can also find Monique in a few places online as well.
I'm on Twitter @_MoniqueGiselle_. If you're interested in a tarot reading, organite, incense, candles, and other cool things, you can go to my website, tarotbymonique.com. Or if you're interested in hypnotherapy, you can go to innerstandingshypnosis.com to schedule a free 20-minute consult. And follow me on Twitter @MoniquePCHT. And Alex, how can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter @TheAlexArion, and you can check out my website, AlexArionFitness.com.
And if that's too much to remember, we get it. That's why we put it all in our show notes.
Thanks for spending your time with us, and we appreciate all of your support.
We do. Thank you. We love you.